Hi there, welcome to another conversation at Originals Club. This time we have Divye. Divye is right now serving as the head of design at Atlassian. Previously, also he has scaled design at Upstox from a 3-4 member team to 54, 55 plus member team at Upstock. And he started his design career very early when the UX was quite new at the time of iPhone. It was, I think, 2007, 2008. He was in US and also did master HCI from University of Michigan and worked at Amazon, became a design leader at Amazon, and did multiple stint at different places, corporates, early stage startups, and then came back to India around the time of pandemic, where he was serving as head of design at Upstock. I'm so excited to have him for this conversation. I hope you enjoy this talk with Divya. And during this session from a beautiful place, some village in Himachal, you can see in the background. So happy to do this. Okay, guys, thank you and enjoy.
Hey Shivam, thank you so much for having me. एकदम ठीक. How are you?
बहुत बढ़िया। अभी बस मैं हिमाचल में आया था तो यहीं से पॉडकास्ट चल रहा है अभी। ये देख सकते हैं आप, नेचुरल सीनरी है और काफी अच्छा
अरे
वेदर है।
वाह.
इट्स वेरी गुड टू बी अवे। दैट्स अ बेनिफिट ऑफ वर्किंग रिमोटली। सेम लाइक यू, आई थिंक आपका भी काम रिमोट है ना, आई थिंक।
100%. So, since I moved back to India in 2021, initially I was working with Upstock, वो भी remote थे, and currently I am with Atlassian, which is also permanently remote. So, which gives me the opportunity to work from Udaipur, which is also my hometown, but natural
हाँ,
beauty, like I can't stay away from natural beauty.
वंडरफुल। तो आई इससे पहले भी आपका रिमोट था या पहले यू वर वर्क अपस्टॉक पे, आपका ऑफिस पे था ना, आई थिंक बेंगलोर पे, आई थिंक।
Upstock, नहीं तो since I joined Upstock in 2021, which was during COVID, तो
हाँ,
initially जो 3 साल वहाँ पे निकले, it was all remote, and then it was I think in 2023 December when Upstock started inviting people back to office.
अच्छा। सो अगर आपको दोबारा भी जाना हो ऑफिस, कैन यू गो बैक टू ऑफिस नाउ और नो?
Not full time. In terms of, I can't go to office all 5 days a week. It will be very
या।
big change for me because I feel like with that remote, uh, two things has drastically changed for me. The amount of time that you save in commuting and uh, figuring out how to go, traffic and everything, that's too much. Versus the other thing that I actually miss in office is the coffee chats, water cooler chats. Like you bump into other people, you have those small chit chats and conversation.
हम्म,
That is the part that I definitely miss. But otherwise, I feel like today with the technology and everything that is available, which empowers the async collaboration, I don't think अब
हम्म,
office जाना इतना critical है.
यस सेम हियर। आई मीन रिमोट वर्क्स हैज बीन सच अ ब्लेसिंग। आई कुड ट्रेवल, डू थिंग्स। मेरा मतलब द होल वर्क लाइफ बैलेंस हैज बिकम सो मच बेटर नाउ।
Yes,
या।
yes. One thing that makes it also work for everyone that is remote is the ownership.
हम्म,
Because यहाँ पे you have to have some discipline first of all कि you can either work 18 hours a day because you are in your room with the laptop, you can open it at 8 p.m. in the night and continue working until 12.
हम्म,
आपको कोई रोकने वाला नहीं है. But the big
हम्म,
difference is you need to set your own boundaries so you are not
हम्म,
constantly working or thinking about work itself. So that is one thing on this personal front that you have to do. The
हम्म,
other thing is there's no one looking at you or your work constantly.
हम्म,
So there the
हम्म,
ownership part becomes very critical, and maybe remote work is might not be for everyone, specifically for people who are just starting their career because they need to be around people, they need to be around leaders, stakeholders from cross craft ताकि वो conversations हो सकें जो organically वहाँ पे होते हैं. White
हम्म,
boarding हो गई. But for, I would say in some roles, it is completely okay to be remote, but it's only after a certain, let's say, tenure or something, it makes much more sense.
हम्म। हाँ, एग्ज़ैक्टली। मतलब मैंने भी अपनी अर्ली करियर में आई लर्न अ लॉट बाय दिस थिंग आई कॉल्ड ऑस्मोसिस, बाय बीइंग अराउंड ग्रेट पीपल, ग्रेट प्रोडक्ट थिंकर,
Yes,
ग्रेट डिज़ाइनर। You can go to their desk, ask question, whiteboarding. But eventually, yes, once you have like a big settle, it is yeah, remote can work well. So
correct.
let's start with the how you got into design. Was it accidental or you knew before that? I'm very curious about that.
I had zero idea about design. I never like I wouldn't say I never wanted to be a designer, but I never had that it's also that hey, or I wasn't even aware that there's a branch called UX design or UI design or anything of that sort. Back in 2001, 2002, dot-com boom was going on and everything. And few of my relatives, they went into IIT. And that's how I decided, or my parents told me, hey, you should also go to IIT. So I was like, yes, great. So I started preparing for IIT. Uh, Once I got the rank and everything, we realized that I'm not getting the computer science branch because
Hmm.
I didn't get like a very good rank. But तब ये पता चला कि एक डिजाइन करके ब्रांच है आईआईटी गुवाहाटी में. फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल
Hmm.
आईआईटी गुवाहाटी वाज नॉट इन इवन इन माय लिस्ट. जब व्हेन यू आर
Hmm.
प्रिपेयरिंग फॉर आईआईटी, द फर्स्ट थिंग यू थिंक कि कहीं पे बॉम्बे, दिल्ली, मद्रास, कानपुर, खड़गपुर जाएंगे. गुवाहाटी वाज प्रीटी न्यू. इट वाज द 8th or 7th IIT at that point of time. So Guwahati was not even in the list. But later on, considering the rank and everything, I met Professor Ramachandran, late Professor Ramachandran, and he was there in our counseling at IIT Bombay. And then he explained what this design field is, how this fits under the computer science department and everything. That actually made me excited. I was like, कि try करके देखते हैं. And I went in with the mindset कि एक साल try करेंगे, नहीं होगा तो we'll give the JEE exam again and then we'll change the branch. But fortunately, when I went in there and I realized कि जो अमेजिंग करिकुलम था उनका, the way it was taught at IIT Guwahati at that time, some amazing professors were there, like Professor Ravi Mukashi was there, Professor Yamyavar was there, Mandar Rane was there. I really started enjoying it कि क्योंकि सबसे बड़ा चीज ये था कि आप फिजिक्स, केमिस्ट्री, मैथ्स पढ़ के गए थे और आते ही आपको ये सिखाया जा रहा था हाउ टू ड्रॉ अ लाइन, स्ट्रेट लाइन, और हाउ टू ड्रॉ अ सर्कल, अ परफेक्ट सर्कल. And it was like, Arey, we are coming from a very technical and analytical background. Why are we learning this? But later on, after a couple of years, when all these concepts that we learned started coming together, we started learning about what are the different crafts and the subdomains within the design is, we realized that why it is critical. So it was definitely accidental, but now I'm super happy that I took that decision to go into design.
Hmm. अमेजिंग, मतलब काफी सेमी लकी है आप डिजाइन मतलब पढ़ पाए. मतलब मेरा तो पूरा पाथ वही था, लाइक ट्रेडिशनल पाथ ऑफ डूइंग बीटेक एंड देन उसके बाद वर्किंग एंड देन रियलाइजिंग ओके उसके बाद अब मुझे करना क्या है. तो मतलब काफी आई थिंक आपका आईआईटी में यू वर शेप्ड अ लॉट बाय वहां पे
Yes,
एक्सपीरियंस, राइट? एंड देन आई थिंक आपने फिर यू वेंट आल्सो फॉर मास्टर्स, राइट?
correct. Again, the decision for masters, it wasn't for that I was super interested in learning more about it. Again, being very honest over here, at that time, it was we were like 19 people in my batch at IIT Guwahati in design, and almost 15 of them decided we want to go for masters. So it was more
हम्म.
like सारे दोस्त जा रहे हैं तो मैं भी जाऊंगा. And
हम्म.
then even at the time of college selection, so I think I had from CMU, Michigan, GATEC, and Indiana Bloomington. Uh, and the decision was like सब जने मिशिगन चल रहे हैं तो अपन भी मिशिगन जाते हैं. So I didn't
हम्म.
put too much thought into it, but it was more like जहाँ सब दोस्त जा रहे हैं वहां जाएंगे. And the intent was very clear that I do not want to like grow my career in academics or want
हम्म.
to stay in US. The
हम्म.
only thing that I wanted to do was will do the masters, come back to India, and will start something of my own. That was the
हम्म.
goal at that point of time.
अच्छा.
Fortunately, after going over there with the friends and everything, but the college turned out to be really good. The School of Information at University of Michigan, the way things were taught over there were very different than things were taught at IIT Guwahati. At IIT Guwahati, it was more like giving exposure to everything within design, from automobile design, from UI, logo design, branding, everything. Versus when I went for masters, it was very targeted, lot of academic, lot of paper reading, lot of research, and also
हम्म.
you have to write a lot. You have to write almost like 3 or 4 papers every week. Versus at IIT,
हम्म.
you don't have to write that much. At least in at that time, the
हम्म.
curriculum was such that you have to do a lot of practical stuff, and that was a big change altogether going for master.
हम्म.
The good thing was I was very much focused on that I need to do more industrial training or part-time jobs which will give which is relevant to my current job or
हम्म.
my craft. So at one point of time, I was actually doing 6 or 7 part-time jobs, and that was mainly with NGOs, either creating their accessibility websites or creating their applications, apps, and stuff like that in 2009 period, which actually helped me being connected with the industry and knowing what is there in the market, what they are looking for, and everything. Of course, that doesn't mean that I wasn't like focused on studies or something, but the main intent was what after masters. As soon as I got into masters, the next thing was iske baad kya karna hai. Let's plan
Hmm.
ahead of it. So it was a really great experience.
Amazing. And agar like if someone want to do right now design education, would you recommend them to do the same path like bachelor's or after that master also, or would you not recommend that?
Oh no, I would highly recommend either masters or bachelors, one
Not
of them.
both.
Not both. Again, if you really want to grow into it, it's good, but it's okay to have one of them. But either master, if you're doing either masters or bachelor, then it has to be from a very good college where the
Hmm.
curriculum is very well defined and the curriculum is not something which has been defined like 20 years back and they're still following it. It has to
Hmm.
be updated and relevant to what the current market needs are. There
Hmm.
are few colleges because I am also part of some of the curriculum committees, and I see that there's still a challenge that professors are not ready to change the curriculum. They still feel, no, we are creating designers and they're still relevant to the market, but the market has
Hmm.
evolved a lot. And
Yeah.
so the curriculum needs to evolve too.
Hmm. Absolutely. काफी मतलब प्रैक्टिकल सब्सटेंस नहीं है, हैंड्स ऑन वर्क है नहीं इतना कॉलेज में ना, बट स्टिल लॉट ऑफ फोकस ऑन थ्योरी. सो
100%.
या and like would you recommend going to US also or abroad, or do you think it is worth it in this time also considering the cost and all?
Considering the current political scenario and everything that is
Hmm.
going on, you have to be very cautious about whether that is the right move going to US for your masters or not. Because one thing when we all went there, we were
Hmm.
always calculating, acha, for 2 years, the fees will be around, let's say, $40,000, and with all the expenses, it will be $60,000. We
Hmm.
may be able to recover all of that in our first job within first year of our job itself. Now,
Hmm.
today, I don't think that is the scene also. Because you
Hmm.
don't even know whether you will be allowed to work over there, whether you will get that. Because in 2011 or something, getting the H-1B visa wasn't difficult at all. It was very easy.
Hmm.
But today
Hmm.
it might take up to 3 or 4 or so, if you're lucky enough in the first try itself, but it might take up to 3 or 4 years where you don't get your H-1B selected in the lottery. And there are a few of my friends who had to leave US, move to Europe or to Canada, then come back, reapply for that H-1B visa and everything. So considering the visa situation, I would say you have to be cautious. Financially, definitely look for it. Think practically. Don't just think कि
Hmm.
I have to go to US, अगर वो नहीं गया तो career progression नहीं होगा. That is not the
Hmm.
case, but think practically how you are going to recover the fees that you have paid. What is the ROI that you are getting?
Yeah. And when you went to US, so then how hard was it for you to get your first job in US? And what was the process of getting the first job?
Oh, I don't think it was that hard to be honest at that point of time because the competition wasn't that tough
Hmm.
at that point of time. And since during my master's itself, I was so two things that actually helped. One, it was a 2 year master's program, but I finished it in like 1 year or 1.5 year. So I graduated in December, but rest of the folks were graduating in June. So that reduced the competition itself because I was
Hmm.
graduating in the December timeframe.
Uh,
Second thing that
hmm.
actually helped was since I was doing lot of internships and lots of part-time jobs with various companies and everything, that actually also helped me a lot at that point of time in finding the job because I had the right network and everything. As far as the process was concerned, it was similar to like any other hiring process where you do first hiring manager round on phone and then they invite you for the on-site interview where from morning 10 to 4 they will have like 5 people
Hmm.
sitting one after another, all the rounds will be cleared and everything. They were very, some of the companies I remember were very bullish on design exercise where they will give you a design exercise, they will give you
Hmm.
1 week or sometimes 2 days to finish it off. And then there were a couple of companies which were new age at that point of time who were more focused on that it's completely okay. You come over here. We don't want to give you any homework and we'll do the whiteboard exercise. But
Hmm.
since it was more of an, I would say, entry level design job, it wasn't that the rigor wasn't that much.
Hmm. I see. And it was which year at that time?
2010.
2010, right? It was the early time of, I think, UX was quite new also that time.
Yes.
Yeah, wow, it's a great time to get into design. You were like at the very early stage, right? Where it was just
I
starting
remember
up.
like the education or the awareness of design was scattered. Like in few
Hmm.
companies, you will see that design function was matured already. Whereas
Hmm.
in some of the other companies, it was like the first title that I got was design engineer. And then I had to talk to them and say that no, there's nothing called as design engineer. You need to change.
Hmm.
And the problem was they were not very clear how will I contribute to the system, how to best utilize my skill set also.
Hmm.
Then the second job that I had in US, there the title started with design program manager. And
Hmm.
the reason was they didn't have product managers, they only had program manager, and they thought that it's a design program manager role. But intent was same. The work I was doing was of a UX designer, but the whole title wasn't there. Then they changed it to
Hmm.
UI engineer, then they changed it to UX designer. So it was a journey in itself in actually explaining what you do, which title will be the best one. Now it is way more consistent across the industry where we use either product designer or UX designer. But prior to
Hmm.
that, it was like whichever title fits best, they will give it to you. And no one actually cared that much about the title also.
Yeah, and I think now the history is repeating. Now we again see the emergence of design engineer, right? It's
Yes.
getting again popular. The
But
idea.
now, yeah, I'm so sorry.
No, 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 please, please.
But now we know why we are calling it a design technologist or a design engineer because
Hmm.
the role is very much clear. At that time, you were playing the role of a UX designer, but you were called design engineer because you were part of the engineering team. But
Hmm.
now they have created this role of a design technologist, which is a bridge between what you do on the design side versus the front end engineer. So that way, when
Hmm.
you're creating a prototype or you are creating something as a POC, it anything that you have created, it is using the technology that will actually be used to get it implemented, and it's not a throwaway code. At least
Hmm.
50 to 60% of that code could be reutilized, which will save a lot of development cost. So with that intent, they have started this role of design technologist.
Yeah, yeah, and also with AI now, vibe coding, the whole,
Yes.
how the designers work is changing. The way we now prototype also is changing. I was talking to a client of mine, and he was like, "Can you build something on Lovable? Like
Yep.
share that instead of Figma also." Are you also seeing that change with now AI, how designers design and share things?
Oh, it has completely changed. Like with I can talk about Atlassian over here, but we ourselves have changed the expectations from our product managers, from our designers with the advent of AI. The way it has changed is now we expect that anytime a PRD is written, along with it, we also need an vibe coded prototype. Now, the intent is not that what you are showing in the prototype is actually going to get implemented, but this is more to also help others visualize or see the same thing that is written in the PRD. And that actually sparks some really great conversations in terms of, is this good? Is this how it will be working? What is the user pain point? Where will be they coming from? Versus writing like 4 or 5 pages of document and reading them. Along with it, they also have this Replit or Figma make prototype that we generally do with.
Hmm.
Similarly, on the design side, also what we have said is utilize AI or vibe coding to explore different solutions. And this has reduced the amount of time it generally used to take to design something. Previously, it was
Hmm.
like you will try and explore a lot of static screen. Now, instead of doing the static screen, you directly go to the prototype, you create a lot of things. There's definitely a problem with the tools right now where
Hmm.
it might give you something which is 80% there, but it is the final polish and refinement of that last 20% which takes a lot of time. The new
Hmm.
thing that we all have to learn is how to write prompt, which might take some time. And this is something that we need because what you ask is what you get. If you are unable to
Hmm.
clearly explain what you are looking for and help the system understand what exactly are the guardrails, what is the output that you're looking for. The output might look something where might feel like, अरे इससे अच्छा तो मैं ही बना लेता. But
Hmm.
that is not the system problem. The problem is we ourselves are training to understand how to write or how to ask for something that will be relevant to us.
Yeah, exactly. And I think I feel the prompting should also become in natural language. For example, yesterday I was using Dia, so Atlassian also acquired Dia browser
Hmm.
some time back, and they also had this, this AI, it's AI browser, and they have this thing, skills. So now you can make skills in natural language. Just write in the natural two, three lines, one line, what you want to get done, and it will behind the scene create your own skill. So I think it will be great if the prompt thing can become more natural, like how the human do conversation, instead of like we need to think how to how does the AI think and give a role play. It's very complicated right now. It will be easier. And at Atlassian, when the product manager write PRD, so the expectation is that generally they also share some kind of working prototype, right? You were saying.
Yes, that is the new expectation that is there, that everyone has to utilize the AI tools, do the vibe coding, whether it is on the PRD side where it needs to include some wireframe, some working prototype. When it comes to design also, they also need to create their explorations using vibe coding or something. And this has also expedited the process. The other thing that has become super helpful with the help of all the AI tool, not just the prototyping part, but it's also the market research. Previously, what might
Hmm.
require a lot of time. Now we can do some market research within a few minutes with the help of deep research and everything. You will get all the insight. Now, again, it is not going to 100% replace our researchers or the marketing team, marketing research team, but it is something which can unblock you immediately or give you insight, which might give you at least 70% understanding. It is again
Hmm.
very much dependent on what data the LLMs have been trained, whether the
Hmm.
information is consistently getting updated or not, because there's a lot of transformation going on in the market itself, in the customer expectations from the product, and how they are going to use it. So,
Hmm.
both the things need to speak with each other. But at the same time, in the current scenario, like for example, we also use where we train our model or train our agent that, hey, consider you are this persona who will be using, who works in this company, you have this thing, and then we say, this is the PRD that we are writing. Can you review and see if this is of any use to you? Or what are the
Hmm.
biggest pain point it is solving, or what are the things we have got? So we have created our own users who are trying to test it
Hmm.
and understand. This is like, again, remember old times we used to do gorilla testing or
Hmm.
I think what they used to call it, doorway or walkway testing, something like
Hmm.
this, like where you just uh, go to your office and talk to people in the pathway and then ask them the questions and everything. Similarly, now we have trained our agents or about specific personas, and they are answering the questions and reviewing the designs and everything and spitting something. Of course, this is just for a quick validation.
Hmm. This is amazing how fast things are changing. And
Yes.
yeah, so the designers still in the early stage, I assume they design on Figma, wireframes, the visual design, and then they wipe code using some tools, and then also it's just for the concept sharing POC, and then they would again add the last finishing touch, right? Is that's how it works, right?
Oh, yes, 100%. So it generally, because we also have our own design system and everything, so it will generally start from, uh, let's say, understanding what is required as per the PRD, then polishing it, creating explorations using the design system and
Hmm.
everything. That is where it generally gets started from.
Hmm.
Then, of course, you do a lot of vibe coding to prototype and see what are the nitty-gritty, what are the thing. But at the end, it is generally the Figma that you have to use to create the final handover designs or
Hmm.
dev-ready design. I don't think that step is taken away right now. And all of these changes just happened in last 3 months. It is not something that,
Hmm.
and we are still going through that process and going through the transformation to figure out how to best optimize and make it more efficient.
Hmm. Awesome. So now going back to the US part again. So after your college, I think you joined then Amazon. So can you dive deep into how was working at Amazon and AWS, owning different UX across devices, building research informed strategy? and working with distributed design teams. How was that, working look in backward in practice?
Definitely. So, just a small correction. So, right after my college, I firstly joined MicroStrategy.
Hmm.
MicroStrategy was more focused on, it was similar to Tableau, where we were creating a lot of dashboard, and that was at the time where iPad just came into the picture. So initially
Oh.
at that time, the focus was, and the Android phones were just booming. Google was launching, iPhone came into the picture. So we were designing a lot of CXO dashboards, which were easily accessible on phone or small screen devices. So that is where I
Hmm.
started. Post that, I worked at NVIDIA for almost 6.6.5 years. And then I moved to Amazon. Amazon definitely was one of the company where one of the largest design team that I had ever worked with. At that point of time in 2017 or 18, they had around 3,000 designers, if I remember the numbers
Hmm.
correctly, distributed across the globe and everything.
Hmm.
I started on the retail side of the business. One thing that
Hmm.
really works very well at Amazon was after a certain point when the company is growing, you figure out or you feel that the culture is changing because there are so
Hmm.
many people, and at
Hmm.
almost every Monday we had like more than 500 people joining Amazon in that year. Uh, how to ensure that the culture is same, everyone is speaking the same language, and the values are intact, and that is where the leadership principle came into the picture, where from hiring to your promotion, to your appraisal, anything that you are doing over there in day-to-day conversations, prioritizations, everywhere the leadership principles were used like the foundational thing. And that is where it made it that irrespective of how many people join, we were able to scale the company altogether who were keeping the culture intact. And that was like, we have to move fast, we have to focus on the innovation, and we have to focus on how can we try to do something that is going to be useful to the customer rather than just for the business. So
Hmm.
leadership principles were not just written on the wall, but they were practiced on a daily
Hmm.
basis. From the design side, initially I joined the retail side of the business. I was working with Amazon Coins, which was basically virtual coins that you purchase and then you use it on Amazon App Store, which was available on I think 6 or 7 countries at that point of time. There, we were also working with the retail, actual Amazon.com detail page and everything. One thing that actually was surprising, like we just wanted to change one image on our detail page, and it took almost 1 month to get all the approvals and everything to make that change on the detail page itself. It was like the bread and butter of Amazon retail. Any changes you want to make on the detail page or the main page, landing page of your product, it has to go through a lot of changes because there are different teams who are owning. There was a team which was just owning the buy button. There was a team that was just owning the information that is shown underneath the product that showcases what are the various options available, like colors, sizes, and everything. And what we wanted to do was we wanted to add an image over there to talk about what this product is. And they were like, oh, but we have a SLA or we have the load time of, I think, less than 1 second or something, the page should get load. If it is breaching that, we won't allow it. So we have to go through a lot of optimizations and everything. And that is how they keep the bar very high for anything that you want to do on the main website, Amazon.com.
Hmm.
Uh, which was also great because there I got to learn that how a large piece of a product get divided into smaller components and each team owns that component so religiously, which gives you an opportunity to work with so many designers and collaborate. And that's where you understand that how the car is made. Like basically when the car gets made, different parts come together and they assemble it. Similarly, on the digital side also, it was somewhat happening the same way where different parts of the page were owned by different teams. Everyone was coming together. Everyone was ensuring that their component or their piece is optimized to the fullest. And then there was a team
Hmm.
which was overall looking at the performance and everything. Um, then I moved into AWS, where I think I stayed there for almost 2 or 2.5 years, where I was managing teams. And we started in Seattle, and I was the first designer for AWS support. Interesting story. AWS support was actually using the Amazon support because when AWS started, they were like, oh, we have just started. We don't need our own support tools and everything. So we'll use the same tools that Amazon uses, the retail side of the business. in 2017 or 18, sometime at that time, after like 12, 13 years of starting the AWS, they realized that tools are not meant for AWS workflows. It is meant more on the retail side of the business. So they actually, I was the first designer that got hired over there, and within 2 months, we hired two more designers, and we had like more than 32 tools that this support team used to own. And support was among the top five revenue generating services within AWS. The main thing at that time was it was a distributed model on the AWS side where I think Matt Menz, if I remember the name correctly, he was leading the whole design thing for AWS. And then there were different designers or design managers distributed in each of the services, and dotted line, they all were reporting to Matthew Menz. The interesting thing was how the process is, how to ensure that the design quality is same across all the thing. There were a lot of processes that were set up to ensure that there were review processes that were happening. You need approvals not just within your own teams that you are working with, but also with the central design team. There were a lot of events that were conducted to ensure that designers feel collaborated and feel like there's a community that you're working with. And because there were also services where there were just one or two designers. So for them, it was like, I've heard Amazon has 2,000 designers, but I only work with like one or two designers. How can I utilize or reap the benefit of working in such a large community also?
Wow, 2000 designers. I can't think of that. It's like amazing. And a lot of hierarchy and like stakeholder management. And I can see. So from Amazon, you then moved to India at Upstock, which was kind of a mid-stage startup, I think. So how would you like see the difference of working at it's two different world, a big enterprise and there's this Upstock of startup. How was that experience, the change?
It was a drastic shift in ways of working, in expectations, bar, and everything. So, and I moved to India, I think, after the first wave of COVID, somewhere in January 2021. It was between the first wave and the second wave when we moved back. Um, I always wanted to work for a startup. Upstock was my first startup. But in US, I was always worried about if the startup gets closed, then your H-1B visa, because of the visa constraints and everything, I never took the risk of like working for a startup. So as soon as we decided that we are moving back to India, the first thing I did was like the next job has to be in a startup. And Upstock, the founders, RSK that we used to internally call, but Ravi, Srini, Kavita, they were amazing. Like they had so much utmost respect for design. The understanding of design was great, and that's what attracted me towards Upstock. The ways of working were completely different. We were growing like crazy because during COVID, if you realize, there were a lot of uptick in number of people who wanted to trade because anything or in any stock that you put money, it was going up. And that created a fallacy that we all understand the stock market, and which completely
Hmm.
changed in 2023. Then the crash started happening and everything.
Hmm.
But at that point of time, our product was growing like crazy. We were consistently launching new features. The life cycle of the feature or the time it takes to from inception to actually implementing the feature at Amazon, it would be like 6 months, easily six
Hmm.
months, where you have to
Hmm.
write the PRD or write the PR FAQ first, get the approval, create prototype, validate, like all those things, the standard process. Versus in a
Hmm.
startup, you have to be first to the market to get the benefit. Or
Hmm.
if you're late to the market because your competitors have already launched something, you can't delay it and say, we'll come back after 1 year and it's completely okay. If they have launched it on Monday, you have to get it done by next Monday altogether. That
Hmm.
was the competition because the customers or in the B2C brand, the customers are like, I've heard about this feature. I need this feature. If you are not able to give it to me, I will go and move to another vendor.
Hmm.
So the way of working was very different. It was very scrappy in terms of how can we move things outside and put it in front of the customers.
Hmm.
PRDs or documentation was something which was not that heavy to start with, and for the right reasons, of course. Like you can't spend too much of time in documentation, but there on the engineering side, definitely the documentation used to be
Hmm.
there to ensure that what we are writing. But on the product and design side, it was less focused on documentation.
Hmm.
So one of the biggest change was also the design system. At Amazon or any of the large companies, because they are mature enough, they have been there for so long, they used to have a design system. And that is why you can see a consistent experience and behavior in their product also. But in
Hmm.
most of the startup, you generally won't find a design system, and that costs them a lot when they want to scale. Because when you
Hmm.
want to scale, you don't want to come up with a new design for each and every flow or each and every page that you're creating. Though sometimes your product managers might recommend that because they feel like this is the best product or this is the best feature we are creating and we want it to shine or look different.
Hmm.
But your customers are looking at it as from the lens of a single product. So defining like some of the basic groundwork in terms of what should be the review processes, because review processes are generally missing.
Hmm.
People might be giving random feedback at random time once it has been implemented in live, and then someone is providing the feedback and they expect that everything to be stopped and changed. So you need to put some process around it, that what will be the various reviews, when it will happen, who will sit in those reviews, how feedback should be given, when which feedback is more relevant. Like if you're showcasing wireframes, you don't expect your stakeholders to provide feedback around font is incorrect or the colors are wrong, because you want them to focus on the high level system design or the flow.
Hmm.
Similarly, it also has to be defined that who is the decision maker, which becomes
Hmm.
a very big problem in startup, where you don't know who is going to decide whether this is right or wrong, whether it is the craft expert, whether it is the stakeholder, CEO, whosoever. Third
Hmm.
thing is also there should be some level of documentation, because the churn happens very quickly in terms of features, in terms of people, because generally one designer might be working on three or four different features. As soon as second version is required or changes are required, the designer might be busy with something else. So you need someone else to pick the same project which was done by somebody else. So for that, some level of documentation is also very much required. Third or the fourth thing is speed with which you quickly iterate on things.
Hmm.
The time that you get in a large company, it's like you can easily say, I will take 2 weeks to create exploration. Over here, it's like, oh, we had a call on Friday. By Monday, we need like two or three versions. How can we do it? So you learn a lot in startup because you are churning or you are doing a lot of things at a high speed and sometimes with a very great quality. And
Hmm.
that is where it brings to that interesting thing that in any team or at any company, there are three things that you can optimize for: speed, quality, and quantity. Either you can do, and it all depends on the resources that you have and the time or the speed with which you want to transform the product. In any company, you can only optimize for two things at a time, either speed or quality, or speed and quantity, or quality and quantity. Because if you need to do 100 projects with really great quality, then the speed will slow down. But if you want to move fast and just launch things very quickly, then either you can focus on quality or quantity. You can't do 100 projects with the same quality in the same time. You might have to say, we might do 5 projects, which are our P0, and we know that the impact on the business and the customer will be super high. Then you say we'll do 5 projects with that quality, but rest of the projects we are okay to lower down the quality. So this is the conversation that we used to have a lot at startup. At Amazon, we never had to do it because their resourcing, of course, there was a constraint, but not as much as this thing. The
Hmm.
other big thing is the planning part. In any large company, they generally plan very, very well ahead of time and say that for the next 6 months, this is going to be the plan. These are the OKRs. This is what will happen if we will do this. If things are slipping, there will be a program manager who will ensure that things are working or not. Versus in startup, it is everyone is wearing multiple hats, and which actually help because you learn a lot over there, because you are sometimes playing the role of a program manager. On the other, sometimes you're also playing the role of a product manager if needed, and then you're also looking at the GTM, the market strategy, and everything. It's
Hmm.
not just designing the feature, is how it will be launched and perceived. So that is where it becomes also interesting and a great learning opportunity when you work at a startup, because you are not just looking at designing your feature, but you are also looking at how this feature will be launched, what is the GTM, how should we think about exit, onboarding, offboarding, multiple aspects of this thing.
Yeah. And so, when you were breaking into India's leadership market, you were head of design at Upstock. So, did you face any friction landing senior roles on returning And how did you narrate your value when you were coming back to India? And what signals matter to Indian founders, PMs when hiring head of designs?
Sure. Um, so first of all, I didn't face any friction in getting the job. I was able to get multiple offers at that time also, and that is just because I was bringing in a lot of experience working in Silicon Valley and from the large corporates over there and coming over here. One of the thing was the design maturity was very different across different companies in India. For few companies, it was like we just need someone who can make our product look really good. The focus was more on the form. And they also knew how they want their products to look like. They might be, oh,
Hmm.
we want our product to look as fancy with motion design as Swiggy or Zomato. Or they might say,
Hmm.
we want it to look premium like Cred. Or
Hmm.
it should be a replica of some other applications altogether. Versus there were very few founders who were actually, or folks in India at that point of time that I interviewed with, who were saying that, hey, we have created something which is functional, but now we want to balance it, the functionality, form, and emotion, three part. So that by using this product, we want the customers to feel satisfied with the product. It should be that I want to use this versus I have to use this. And
Hmm.
specifically, this problem happens with the enterprise products and everything, where most of the time the customers or the end user feel like, I don't want to use it, but I have to use it because someone has signed the deal with it. Now,
Hmm.
going back to the founders, the maturity was for some of the founders, it was more around we know what to be done. It's just like we don't know how to use Photoshop or design tools, and that's why we are bringing you over here. So you can shepherd all the designers and ensure that we get what we are looking for. There were few designers, few founders who actually understood that, hey, design is something that we want to be the critical function, not just the designer, but the design as a critical function within our organization where they play an equal role with the product and engineering and to
Hmm.
ensure that we are delivering the product which is working backward from the customer.
Hmm.
So, and that is what I resonated a lot with Upstock founders.
Hmm. Amazing. And this was, I think, you were getting, I think, a lot of inbound offers, right? You didn't need to
Yes.
also outreach, right, for that.
No.
Yeah.
So the way it started was, I think as soon as I decided that I'm moving back to India,
Hmm.
I just spoke with one of the recruiter or someone who reached out, and after that, it was like one after another. The dots got automatically connected. Like you don't have
Hmm.
to put in a lot of effort.
Hmm. Yeah, and I think it was still you were coming from this Bay Area, Silicon Valley, so that your insight would be quite valuable here, right? The
Correct.
founders. Yeah.
One thing that I definitely heard was that we get such calls multiple times that, hey, I'm moving back to India. Can you create a position for me? Or is there an opportunity for me? People might go through the whole loop. And then
Hmm.
later on, they might say, oh, I have changed my mind. Now I'm not moving back to India. So many of the recruiters and founders were actually frustrated that I hope after going through the whole process, we prepare all the offer letter and everything, and you don't say that I've changed my mind and I'm not joining. It's a
Oh,
different topic that you decide to come back and join another company, but at least don't do this that you just want to know how much I will be earning in India, and then you just say no to it.
yeah, it happens, right? And
Yes,
then after Upstock, you then joined Atlassian, right, as
yes,
design director, right?
correct.
Yeah, and then
So I
also, yeah,
no, no, please go ahead. Sorry.
no, no, just at Atlassian, you know that. So at Upstock also at head of design, did you have some hands-on work also, or it's mostly you were managing team, growing, scaling processes, stakeholder, and
Got
yeah.
it. So when I joined Upstock, we had three product designers and a few folks on the marketing side, marketing design side. By the time I left, I think in total we had around approximately around 50 designers across Upstock. Of course, split between product designers, UI designers. We also had animators. We also hired illustrator. We had brand design, researcher. So we created the whole design function within it across the company. The processes and everything had to be set up from ground up for various things, including the reviews, both with the stakeholders and internal reviews within the design team were set up. Hiring was something which was very interesting, just moving back to India and then growing or scaling the team. Because one thing when you are hiring at scale is you need to have the same guardrails or the ground rules set. So the first thing
Hmm.
we did was like we defined what does various levels mean at Upstock for designers specifically.
Hmm.
What is expected from each of the level. So basically we define the growth profile that if you are a product designer, this is expected from you. If you're a senior product designer, this is what is
Hmm.
expected versus a lead, roles and responsibilities for each one of them. Then the next step was defining the whole interview process.
Hmm.
How many steps will it be? Will it require like a product team involvement also? At which level do we need the cross craft interviewers to be included versus which level is completely okay to be driven and done within the design team itself? Then the next thing was what are the things that we'll be evaluating or assessing? What all
Hmm.
values we'll be looking at? What type of questions we will be asking? Because we definitely do not want to go back and say that, hey, these are the 5 questions, everyone has to ask just these 5 questions. Versus we said that if we are evaluating your ownership, these are the 2 or 3 questions that you can ask, which will give us the same output as to know whether the candidate has shown the ownership or has delivered the result or not. So it took a lot of time to do this ground level setup, like almost 2 to 3 months. But once that was done, that actually helped us in scaling and moving fast with the interview process, because that is where we have increased the number of interviewers, where everyone, even when they are flying solo altogether, they were asking the same thing and the bar was same that was set across the team. So that
Hmm.
actually helped a lot. The other thing that we did at Upstock was also in terms of creating the design system from scratch,
Hmm.
where we created the whole design system to ensure that it saves a lot of time on the engineering implementation side also, because we wanted to move fast and also bringing that consistency across the board.
Hmm. Hmm. And then you moved to Atlassian. How was that transition from Upstock again to back to enterprise?
So this has been one thing which I have been doing every few years. Whenever I switch jobs, I generally change the domain completely. So if you will start, I started from analytics, then I moved to hardware, then I moved to retail side of the design, then AWS on the computing side and IT infrastructure side. Then I moved to fintech, and now I'm in a very different teamwork side, that is Atlassian. So I keep switching between B2B, B2C, and it's not intentional, but it somehow's happened. But it keeps you open and aware of like anything and everything going on in both side of the worlds. Because what I have realized is that the expectation from design is somewhere merging from both enterprise versus the
Hmm.
consumer side of it. No
Hmm.
longer the enterprise product has to be boring and goes with the mindset that, oh, it's okay, it's an enterprise product. Enterprise product also want design and the experience to be the key value proposition moving forward. And
Hmm.
that's what drew me towards Atlassian. Between
Hmm.
Atlassian and Upstock, I took some break also for health reasons, and that gave me the clarity that now I want to optimize. For one thing that helped me was I don't want to leave Udaipur, which is my native
Hmm.
place, and I said that I will specifically look for companies which offer remote, and Atlassian was one of that company.
Hmm.
Second thing that drew me towards Atlassian was their culture. I've
Hmm.
heard a lot about Atlassian culture before that also in US, that they are very employee friendly company and everything. So that drew me. And the third thing was the product. Everyone, I would say most of us have used Jira at some point in our career. And the way it was consistently evolving, and they were trying to bring lots of innovation in the products around it, because we were also using Confluence, Jira, JSM in our previous companies. I was very much across the product that they had and the scale at which they were operating with a very small team of designers. After conversations with the Atlassian folks and everyone, I got interested about the product that I was going to own. That was IT operations at that point of time within Jira Service Management. This was more around how do you ensure that any incident, any problems happening with your IT infrastructure, how you are able to fix it very quickly. which somehow was very much relevant to what I was doing at AWS support also.
Hmm.
And that made me more excited about this opportunity, and that's how it started.
Hmm. And then also at Atlassian, so you are like you're managing a big team, right, at Atlassian?
Yes. At Atlassian, the team size is around 20 people. It's mainly
Hmm.
UX designers and content designers.
Hmm.
But the team is was initially team was spread between India and Turkey, and now the team is spread between India, Turkey, and Australia.
Hmm. Ah, okay. Quite remote team across the world. Very
Yes,
diverse. Yeah.
correct.
Yeah, and we have discussed briefly about AI and but at Atlassian, so how where does AI actually move the needle? Is it the problem framing, the research synthesis, uh, prototyping using or vibe coding? So what breaks? So how do you avoid AI aesthetic sameness? Yeah, around the use of AI at Atlassian.
Definitely. So, as I said, everything has suddenly changed, or there's a big uptick in AI users or awareness around AI also in last 3 to 4 months. Of course, AI has been here for longer, but it has been last 3 to 4 months where the companies have started adopting AI in terms of their workflows and everything. So for us also, it started becoming part of our day-to-day work activity altogether, where the first thing that we did was, and this was amazing that the company planned it, that for 1 week we said, pencil down, everyone will have some courses to do, that is AI one-on-one courses, where we learn about how to use the AI tools, what are the AI tools that we currently have. So company gave us licenses to Replit, to Figma Make, where first of all we learned about what are LLMs, how do they function, what are the product that we have, or how we are offering it. Then the next step over there was ensuring that we all do this vibe coding and learn together, do practice, create some projects, share with each other, get feedback. This was more of learning the tool. The
Hmm.
next step altogether was bringing that AI first thinking into it.
Hmm.
So step one was knowing the tool. Of course, knowing the tool doesn't solve all the problem. The second thing was how to understand what is possible with AI. And that is where
Hmm.
we had lots of brainstorming sessions, lot of workshops, seminars that is going on internally within the Atlassian with all the employees.
Hmm.
And then came the third step where we set the expectations all together across the processes that currently we follow this process of wonder, explore,
Hmm.
make, and impact. This is the Atlassian process of building things. Wonder is something where you wonder, is this the right problem? You do some deep research, you understand what is there. Explore is more around where designers take the in charge and they would explore various solutions, the same double diamond. Then comes the make where it gets implemented, and impact is where we measure that post launch how the customers are using it. The great thing about this AI is with the help of AI, we have tried to redefine each of the processes and ensure what is the new expectation for each of these things. Similarly, in each of the growth profiles that we have for designers, for product managers, we have re-evaluated and reassessed and said that for a P40 or for a junior product designer, for a lead product designer or a senior product designer, what is expected from you in terms of
Hmm.
AI, in terms of this thing? So setting that expectation and bar actually helps everyone to take that extra step and say that, no, this is required for my job and I have to learn it. It's no
Hmm.
longer something as optional that you do it. The big thing was our product itself was integrating lots of AI features within it.
Hmm.
So one thing is you are creating the products which are AI first, but if you yourself are not using it within your own day-to-day work and everything, it will be a big disconnect. So
Hmm.
it started like all around the corners from all directions. It was bringing in the AI first thinking, knowing the AI tools, having a providing the support in terms of courses, seminars. We had like AI groups all together that was built, which will help you understand where you can go and learn about it. And that it was giving that environment, opportunity, and forums that help everyone within
Hmm.
Atlassian to keep up with the AI transformation that was going on.
I see. Very interesting. Do you also have any side projects or hobbies that, apart from work, that you do? Be it on screen or away from screen.
Um, Previously, it was very much focused on like working on my side projects as company, like startups and everything. So I had a couple of startups that were running, both of them got closed. Uh, right now, the only thing that I do on the side is I run my own mentorship cohort where every 6 months I would pick like six folks. And every 6 months I will keep on changing. Sometimes it will be all six of the folks will be from college. Uh, Last cohort was more who were all in the design management side. So I keep doing that, and that is the only time that I get where I speak with like other folks outside of my current job and everyone, where I try to give back to the design community, give them the mentorship, and also learn from them, because sometimes it is equally important to understand what is the perspective that new folks who are coming into design they have, what are the
Hmm.
challenges they are going through. And most of the folks, they all have the potential, they all know exactly how they will be successful, but it's the guidance that matters a lot, that what should be done at what level, which will help them. If you have the, I think coach or the mentorship plays a very big role in
Hmm.
anyone's career. If they have the right mentor or the right coach, they can succeed, and they don't have to fall into the trap or fall into the pit and then learn, oh, I don't have to do that in the future, versus learning from other people's experience.
This is so nice that you're doing this to help people. I mean, maybe you can also after this provide the link to the mentorship. I'll be happy to if there's any link or any way that people can join the wait list. I'll also add this in the description and share in my network also. This is really nice that you are helping a lot of designers. I think a lot of people they need some guidance. Mentorship has really helped me a
Sure.
lot personally. So kudos to you for doing this.
No,
And
thank you so much, and we'll definitely share. I generally post like on LinkedIn whenever I'm ready for the new cohort and something. It's just like the operation part has started taking a lot of time altogether. So uh, previously I started with 3 people, and then as more and more requests started coming in, so now we are at like 5 to 6 people every 6 months.
wow, and you mentor them for few months, have some calls like
It's
that.
a 6 month cycle again, and we meet generally either 1 hour every month or 30 minutes every 2 weeks. And topics are generally, it doesn't have to be help me write my resume or help me write my portfolio, but it has to be more around career progression. It has to be more around the transformation going around you, how to cope up with it. And depending on which if the cohort is more focused on management side, then
Hmm.
it will be how to scale yourself, the leadership style, all those sort of things.
Cool, that's great. So now there are some questions. So one set of questions we can answer in detail. That is from our design community we run at Design Origins Club. Other are from LinkedIn, Twitter, and one is the rapid fire round. So maybe we can start with a rapid fire round. We can do it in just within a few minutes. Rapid fire is that's a format. So I'll start with that. So,
Hmm.
seven questions. Let's begin. First, one UX principle you never compromise on.
I would say function over form. Even if your thing is super beautiful, but it's not functional, I don't think it will work. You should always prioritize functionality. It has to be useful. So function over form.
Okay. A design decision you would make differently knowing what you know now.
Two things I would say. One is definitely do more experimentation. Now understanding the power of experimentation, I would say rather than doing a one big bang release after 6 months or 8 months, I would rather break it down into small experiments and do it.
Hmm.
And then the second thing will be more research, getting more closer to
Hmm.
the customers.
Hmm. A tool you would keep if you had to drop everything else.
Figma. It has everything that you need now. Figma,
Yes.
Figma Make, Figma Site, FigJam. Like it's a single powerful tool that a designer needs these days.
A non-design habit that most improved your design leadership.
Two things actually changed. And I started recently only, I think 1 year or 2 years back only. Meditation and watching sunrise without fail every day. So waking up early. I was like I used to wake up at 8 a.m. or something, and then something changed where I started waking up at like 4:30 a.m. in the morning, using that time to do some meditation. It gives you a very different sort of energy, clarity in thoughts, and it keeps you going for the whole day. Because now, as my role demand, like every day you might have up to 10 to 12 meetings. Every 30 minutes, you have to do a context switch in. Your brain has to be trained in a way that you're able to quickly switch the context and give your full undivided attention to the meeting that you are in. I think this meditation and waking up early has really helped me with that.
Amazing. A startup ritual that you imported into the enterprise.
So one thing that I have started is generally in enterprise, we have everything planned for next 6 months. And sometimes you want a small, scrappy team, a tiger team who doesn't have any restrictions or guardrails around it. And you tell them, do whatever you feel is right for you, experiment with it, and then come back with the result. So basically, you remove the whole approval process and everything. Of course, with some guardrail that you can't generally blast something to 100% of the customers, but keeping some guardrail. But you remove the hurdles in their process to move forward quickly. So that has worked out really well. Where a
Hmm.
portion of the folks are only focusing on like innovation or doing something which is going to be quick experimentation, not much approvals and everything.
Okay. Most overrated trend in the product design today.
I would say two things. One is motion design, where if you don't understand how to use motion design and put the animation, you might actually ruin your really perfect product. If you're just trying to copy and say that, no, I need this button to move, where it is not required at all. So, which I'm seeing in most of the apps these days, where wherever not required, also they are putting it. And the second thing is, I would say integrating AI features which are not adding value. Sometimes just for the sake of to showcase that, hey, we are also AI first, they might integrate some AI feature, but they are not adding any value to the customers also.
Hmm. Okay. A book article that you reread every year.
Since 2021, first time I read that book in 2021, I think the title is $1 Trillion Coach, and it's about Bill Campbell. He was one of the greatest coach who has even coached like Eric Smith, Steve Jobs, Larry Page, Tim Cook, and everyone. That book has some amazing lessons on leadership and how he used to operate, how he used to work, and everything. So that is one book that I try to read, not every year, but maybe every 6 months, actually.
Hmm. Oh, nice. This is great, the rapid round. And now let's begin to some questions that we got from the design originals community. So
Mhm.
Vivek Sai, I think he used to work at Upstock with you.
Yes.
Right. So he asked this question. How was your experience of going through a rebrand at Unicorn Startup? How was designing and shipping products under the deadline of IPL, where our stock would be getting massive eyeballs? Yeah, he had few more questions, but let's first start with this one.
Sure. Vivek Sai and me, we worked together at Upstock. He was also my junior from IIT Guwahati. I know him
Oh,
very well.
wow, wow.
Yeah. So, answering the first part, it was great doing the rebranding because as Upstock was growing at that point of time, we figured that we had lots of plans of growing Upstock, and we were figured that the current branding might not scale to the level that we want to go. So it, of course, we spent a lot of time over there in figuring out and defining the values of Upstock and how it works and everything. We also had a core team of, I think, senior leadership and everyone who were involved in those discussions. But what actually helped us was having a timeline because things like branding and everything, these are the discussions that you can keep having for up to 1 year or 2 year also. And you might always feel like, oh, is this the perfect one or can something else be brought? But having clear goals or the tenants, which actually help us, like, what is it that we want this branding to talk about? What is it that we want people to learn or remember after looking at this thing? How can we make something recognizable? So anywhere they look for it or anywhere the icon or the element that comes, they remember that, oh, this is from Upstock.
Hmm.
Then the other thing was the color and everything that we brought in some specialists who were also specialists in colors and which colors will be the best representation of our culture, our company values and everything. More or less, it was great because it was not just about creating the branding, but it was also around establishing the new branding to our customers because we were growing like crazy. I think we were at like 3 or 4 crore customers and we were going towards like 10 crore altogether with that IPL season starting. Before that, we had to do the rebranding. And with the rebranding, we also had to ensure the first is educating our customers. What does this new logo means and why this is done? The second thing around this was also using this new branding and create all the advertisements and everything. It was a fun exercise.
Nice. And then, uh, how was shipping products under the deadline of IPL, where Upstock would be getting massive eyeballs?
Yes, the first IPL was very interesting. The first IPL was like, it was literally like doing a grand wedding because when you do a large scale event for the first time, you don't know what you are getting into. At the last moment, you might get a call from IPL team saying that, oh, this banner is not working on the sideboards, or this, we need three more iterations, or sorry, three more artifacts from you for these different places. So we were consistently churning things. I remember like the whole team was working for that 1 week, 1 week before the IPL for like until 4 in the morning in offices or sometimes overnight. But it was so much fun. And that is where we felt like we all are in it together. Everyone was so driven, so passionate about it. It was one of the best. And I've heard similar stories about at Flipkart when they do the Big Billion Day, or at Amazon when they do this sale over there. Like folks generally, these events like this actually brings the team together, and that is where the team spirit and everything becomes alive, and everyone knows that this is the shared goal, or this is the goal that we are chasing, and this is why we are working together.
So
And
cool.
more on the tactical front on IPL thing, we actually were working with multiple vendors also, because by that time when the first IPL was happening, because I think I joined in February or March, and the first IPL was supposed to happen in April in 2021,
Hmm.
sometime around that. So we literally had like 2, 3 months only. And at that time, we didn't have enough people internally to handle all the requests that were coming in. So we were working with multiple vendors, with internal folks, with marketing team. There were a lot of creatives going on. We created our TV advertisement for the first time. And I had never worked on TV ads or anything. So it was also a new experience for me working with the team, and of course with the marketing folks who were owning it and leaning it. But from the design side also jumping into it, seeing what is the part of the product that we want to showcase in the advertisement. Then there were many things that we came to know about as part of the processes, that how creatives get edited altogether, what part of the product you are allowed to show. One thing that generally comes at the end of the any fintech advertisement is like it is uh, all about like you have to give a lot of TNC at the end of this thing, which we were not aware.
Hmm.
Like many things came into the picture. It was a great learning experience. It was definitely collaboration between, I would say, more than 200 people easily.
Wow. I mean, you have really massive experience from managing people, be it at working at Amazon or then Upstock, and this thing, maybe this thing is amazing, right? So much learning. I think so. Also, these days, soft skills are becoming more harder than hard skill. I believe with AI and all those things coming up. So great, man.
Yes,
Yeah.
thank you.
And also, you grew the team from I think three pro designer to 54 at Upstock. So, what were the challenges in learning from scaling that fast at Upstock?
One of the biggest challenge was, and it was very much specific to Indian market, where we were not able to find the right talent. Right
Hmm.
talent in terms of most of the designers or design schools in India, they were creating designers who were relevant to startups, where they don't want them to think that much and focus mainly on the form part, look and
Hmm.
feel and everything. We were looking for designers who can also do some research, who can understand the customer problem, who can do system level thinking rather than just creating the outcome or the end screen.
Hmm.
That was
Hmm.
the biggest challenge that we, specifically for the senior designer. The second bigger problem that we faced was titles in India are inflated.
Hmm.
Like you might find people who have just 3 years out of the college and they are head of design because they are running a startup with three people and they are head of design, and they expect that they should get head of design title or VP of design title even at any company that they go. So they are
Yeah.
prioritizing for the wrong thing, where they're going after title without understanding the maturity and the level of the company and everything. And then the third bigger thing was communication. where there
Hmm.
we met a few folks who were really good at their craft, but they didn't focus too much on communication, because one big part of the designer is also to sell their design. Like
Hmm.
until and unless you are able to articulate the thinking behind the design, or convince your stakeholders, craft functional partners and everyone, that why this design will work, what are the data points, it won't work. And folks were
Hmm.
not able to communicate or articulate their thought process. And then the
Hmm.
last thing was lack of data. And this is again,
Hmm.
some of the problems are not specific to the designers, but some of the problems are specific to the companies that they work with, because they never gave them the opportunity to it.
Hmm.
Getting access to the data and understanding the business becomes very critical for the designers, so they know that if they design this thing or they do this thing, this will be the impact on the end customer and the business.
Hmm.
Versus thinking was more like, I did the design, I hand it over to engineering, now I don't know what happened next. That's where
Hmm.
the gap started happening. So we were
Hmm.
finding like many profiles which were not fitting the end-to-end perfect designer that we were looking for.
Hmm. Yeah. Right. It's always hard, that part of finding substance over just form, the function over form,
Correct.
right? Who can think deeply. And also, Vivek, last question is asking, what about your style of leading, and how do you come up to it? Your style of leadership has evolved, I think, maybe in last few years. How has that been evolved, and how do you come to it?
Yeah. So that's a great question. It has definitely evolved as I have tried to scale myself, managing multiple managers or senior managers and underneath. So as the chain is growing altogether, it becomes also critical that you start trusting your team a lot. So
Hmm.
my leadership style since day one has been earn the trust of your team and give them the ownership. The first thing is you showcase that you trust them by giving them the ownership, but at the same time making them accountable for the decisions
Hmm.
that they are making. Because until and unless that accountability is there, the seriousness won't come and that ownership won't come. You need to showcase that they have your trust, because you say that you have the free space to think about things. You do not interfere in their day-to-day activities. You have their career discussions every 3 to 6 months. You have their conversations about the progress they are making, and let them feel that, or let them know that you are there if they fail. You are there as a backup. You are there to support them if anything doesn't go well. But that doesn't mean that they should not be experimenting, they should not be trying out new things. They should be doing it, because innovation
Hmm.
won't happen like suddenly one day a big idea will come and you will do it.
Hmm.
Innovation might happen if you will give them the creative freedom, if you will give them the right environment in which they can flourish altogether and think beyond the boundaries.
Hmm.
So, from the leadership style, it's like giving them the full ownership, making them feel accountable, and most importantly, showcasing that you trust them has become
Hmm.
very critical.
Hmm.
And you need to put in a lot of effort to earn their trust also. It's not like you join and the day one itself, everyone will trust you. To showcase
Hmm.
that they can trust you is like having first of all, understanding what are their goals, their personal goals, their
Hmm.
professional goals, giving them the right opportunities, creating the space for them to flourish, move forward in their career progression. You can't just be thinking about
Hmm.
the business. You also have to think about the people that you have hired, because if people are flourishing, then your business will flourish.
Yeah, I really wish that more design leader can be more that much empathetic toward their team. That would be so nice. Like you are having this thing. uh,
Yes.
Next, Dipesh is asking, how do you see the design profile evolving in the next 5 years?
Sure. Uh, I would say three things that I can think of. One is, if you want to stay relevant to the market, you have to do more than design. You have to
Hmm.
learn some other skills, and those other skills could be you have to be good at data, you have to understand some form of coding, so you can speak with your cross-craft leaders or stakeholders in the language that they are doing. It can't be that, oh, my role is just to design, but I don't know where they are coming from, the customers, what they are going to do, what impact the design will have. It doesn't work that way. You have to understand the end-to-end flow. The second
Hmm.
thing that becomes very critical is know your business in and out very, very well.
Hmm.
You can't prioritize things which is not going to make an impact to the business. You need to know the business to understand if I do this, what will be the impact, who my customer is, how the customer or the market is evolving.
Hmm.
Until and unless you have a thorough understanding of your current business, whether you attend weekly business review or a monthly business review, or understand where the revenue is coming, which feature is generating the review, which feature is not, where it is, whether it's a high touch customer, low touch customer, like all those sort of things, you need to understand the business very, very well
Hmm.
as a designer. And then the third thing is adopt the technology, all the
Hmm.
transformations that are having, whether it is AI, like AI, make AI your friend. Learn AI not in terms of replacing the things that you are doing already, but how can
Hmm.
you improve the quality? You need to raise the bar high, really high, to ensure that previously, if you were able to deliver, let's say, just the static design as part of the validation, now you are able to deliver along with the static design a working prototype.
Hmm.
So you need to raise the bar altogether, utilizing the new transformations and transitions that are happening in terms of technology, whether it is AI, VR, whatever it is.
Hmm. In short, like, just don't think in pixeling, don't be a Figma junkie, but think broadly about the business.
100%. You need to be aware, like, and don't consider yourself as in your triad also between product design and engineering that I am the person who will just do design. No, you will
Hmm.
definitely do the design, but you need to very well participate in your wonder phase, that is understanding, is this the right problem to solve? Are we
Hmm.
prioritizing for the right thing? You have to
Hmm.
set and have a point of view in those conversations also in terms of prioritization, that are we prioritizing the right thing or not? Then at the time of implementation also, you need to ensure and talk about, oh, by the way, I want to measure these things so that I will know whether this design is successful or not.
Hmm.
So that way you work with engineering and say that, do ensure we have events in place to measure these things. Now, these are very tactical and basic things, but sometimes none of the designers actually talk about it. They feel like after it is launched, then they will ask, oh, by the way, do you know how many people clicked on it? And engineering will like, nobody told me. And designers will like, oh,
Hmm.
I thought everyone knows. Everyone doesn't know. But if you will
Yeah.
keep talking about it, then it's the cultural or the mindset shift that you're bringing in, that we need to measure the telemetry data around any specific design so that we can measure the success and learn from it.
Hmm. Great. Next question, Sajin, he's heading design at Outdo. He's asking, what's the next frontier for design at Atlassian that excites you the most?
Definitely a great question. Two things. One, we are uh, one thing which is already happening is previously Atlassian has multiple products. They have Jira Service Management, Confluence, Loom. You set the goals, you set the OKRs, like within the Atlassian products and everything. With the teamwork graph, what we have done is we have tried to bring all this data together, connect the dots so you know what are your company goals, who is working on which goal, how much resources are assigned to
Hmm.
this thing, what is the outcome of that goal. So this is just an idea where you are connecting the dots which otherwise you would have not thought to know from
Hmm.
an individual person, the task that he's doing to the major goal that the company has taken and what is the impact over there. So
Hmm.
this we are calling it as a teamwork graph, which is the future of how the team will collaborate with each other. And the second
Hmm.
thing is the AI. With the AI, we are trying to do thing with the agentic AI and everything, where we are creating agents and everything, which is going to make your workflow super efficient altogether, in terms of you don't have to go the old way of like creating 100 Jira tickets or creating the work items and everything, versus it's like you start with a meeting. At the end of the meeting, we automatically transcribe your note. We figure out what are the Jira tickets we have to create, whom to assign it to them, how to create a follow-up. Everything gets automated. So this is
Hmm.
the part which excites me a lot, that it's all about we have the data, we showcase the dashboard and everything on demand as and when
Hmm.
required automatically. So
Hmm.
it's more actionable insights by connecting the dots between different
Hmm.
part of the data and the information that we have.
Cool. So next few questions are around AI. I'll try to club them. So first one is by Etty. How do you personally use AI in your daily workflow? You as a design director.
Sure. One thing that I've done is I have you created my own AI agents, which actually help me in. For multiple things. So basically, every Monday we have a staff meeting where I have to send a reminder or start a conference doc where everyone will come and they will post like what is it that they have done in the last week? What are the big wins? What is it that we are going to focus on everything? Now, we also have some Atlas tickets or tickets where we generally write down all these things. So with this AI agent, it automatically sends the reminders. It will also pull the information from each of the Atlas ticket, auto-populate it, send a reminder again that, hey, the information has been populated. Can you double check if you want to move or edit anything? Second thing is I also try and send a weekly review or a weekly update to my manager, to skip manager, which again gets auto-generated because I have created like various tickets and everything where the information is placed. Sometimes it's on Slack, sometimes it's on some conference thread. So that agent will look at everything in my personal space that has been updated in last 1 week and it will auto-generate a summary and it will share. So
Hmm.
these are very small things, but that has started saving a lot of time. Then sending reminders on various topics or things that we happen. We have a weekly review meeting, so automatically reminding that, hey, the weekly review meeting is coming. This person has signed up. Your slot is from this time to this time. Then post the meeting, we auto with the Loom and everything, we auto transcribe the whole thing, and then we also generate the action item. Based on those action items, I would generally create like send a reminder that when are we getting update on these items. So things like follow up with the people, it has become really easy. Sending a weekly cadence reminders on some check-ins or the staff meeting, that has all been automated.
Hmm.
The other big thing is we have a lot of research that gets shared across different channels and everything. So I've created an agent which will go and look for any research insight that has been shared or any customer insight that has been shared about my product across most of the Atlassian channels, and it will auto generate a page with all those insights.
Okay. And Sam is asking, is there a set rule book for AI interface globally, or is Atlassian writing its own?
We all are writing our own. It is definitely evolving. It is there's no rule book as of now, but we all are evolving. I think it's too early for the rule book to come because we all are pretty new to this space. It will be maybe after 6 months or 1 year when folks will start using it and they will feel like this is the one that feels most intuitive and this is the one where we would like to use. And that's where we all will then head toward. But right now, everyone is exploring their own rule book.
Hmm. Great. This is great. It's been really wonderful chatting with you, Divya, on this. Thank you so much for your time. Just as we wrap up, I want to have a last thing I ask. So, one contrarian belief about design leadership that you wish more team adopted, and maybe a short book of practice that you would recommend to mid-career designers before we wrap up.
Definitely. Um, People sometimes confuse leadership as being in control, but it is less about being in control. It is more about giving the ownership. Because once you feel like, oh, I have to be in control of anything and everything that the team is doing, then you go into that world of micromanagement, not giving them enough space and everything. And that is where you are also curtailing the growth of your own designers, your team, and yourself also. Because you won't be able to scale yourself if you want to be in control of everything. Versus
Hmm.
if you go towards that other side of giving the ownership to your team, giving them the right resources, giving them the tools, giving them the freedom to try, explore, and do things that are relevant and that will make them successful, that is where you're able to scale because now you're actually creating the next set of leaders for your own team.
Hmm.
In terms of
Hmm.
book, I would highly recommend everyone mid-career, even folks who are just starting, The Art of Innovation. This is the
Art
book
of
that is written
innovation.
by Tom Kelly, who was the general manager for IDEO, where they talk about innovation is not something that happens by accident. Innovation is more driven by the culture in which your team survives, flourishes, works, and do things. It is more about removing the barriers, giving them the open space to think. It's more about the practices that you follow, the rituals that you have set up, and that is what will help the companies to innovate. So
Hmm.
definitely that art of innovation is one of my favorite books.
Cool. I will put those links in the description. And Thank you so much again, Divya, for your time on Saturday morning. Really appreciate you, man. And yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much, Shivam. It was great chatting with you, and thank you so much for having me.
Okay.
Have a good weekend. Bye.